Oh,
All right, I'm gonna hit the network and you tell me go, okay?
it's ready to go now, brother. We're
All
on.
right.
We are live. Thank you so much for tapping in. You are here in the Clarity Code podcast where we are decoding your mindset, your energy, and your spirit in order for you to work and to walk with purpose in life. So
Right.
I'm here with my co-host. First of all, I'm Omar of the Omziel Healing Sanctuary.
Now I'm Cameron from ARMEW, that's Axial Release Massage and Energy Work.
hmm And we promise not to keep it too long, but we are hard at work over here explaining some things and decoding the mysteries of life. And I'm doing my best to bring in some practicality into some of these things that sometimes can be a little bit of woo woo or something like that.
Right,
So,
right, right. And I want to bring the mystic back into the scientific. That's a
mm,
big part of what I want to do. And
mm,
we're also broadcasting on thewakeupradio.com. That's the On the Wake Up Radio Network. A big shout out to super producer Cindy Ashby. All the
big
listeners
time.
who are tuning in.
That's right. Peace, peace, and love. Appreciate you.
Peace.
All right. So, there I am, brother. I'm walking through life and sometimes things can be quite a struggle, man, and sometimes I just don't know where to turn or how is it that I deal with certain things. I try to be a spiritual person. I try. I really do.
Hmm.
I got my little sage and I light my candle. But I come from a hard place. I was born in the city of Manhattan and grew up in Brooklyn and mostly in the tri-state area. So some of these neighborhoods that I came out of, they were quite rough, bro. To say the
Hmm.
least. In fact, some of the people that I walk with now, I look at them and I go, man, they wouldn't last 10 minutes in my own neighborhood.
Right, right.
For real. But I'm getting much better at it. I've chosen some practices that have helped me to walk on my path. I'm a self-aware man, right? I know who I am. I stand in my power. But I have to tell you, it took a long time for me to realize that. And then sometimes I get kind of like that imposter syndrome,
Mm,
that we
yeah,
all go through. I feel like I'm not enough.
right.
Who do you think you are? You don't got the degrees. You don't have the complexion of connection.
Right. Yep.
So tell me.
Yeah.
Do you feel this too, man?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Oh, definitely, like, just as I'm moving through this world and with the work that I do, it was a certain period. It's fun. I'm glad that you asked that because there was definitely a certain period where I felt that a lot more, as if I wasn't worthy enough to be in the spaces that I was in. And I realized that that was really inhibiting me and preventing me from being my true self in these spaces. And there's something to be said about going into a place and the vibration that we carry. Like, I still give myself pep talks before I go to where I'm gonna go. You know what I
Mhm,
mean?
mhm, mhm,
Real
mhm,
pep talks, like talking to myself the whole way there. And I realized that going into these spaces with a different vibration changes how I show up in that space. And it
mhm,
changes how I'm perceived in that space. And
mhm,
there's something to be said about that for everybody who's listening. At any point, if you're I don't want to say suffering, but if you're dealing with the imposter syndrome, listen, sometimes we gotta pep talk ourselves. Like they say, fake it till you make
mhm.
it. I feel like that's
Right.
a version of that.
Mhm,
There was an
mhm,
event that I went to a few weeks ago, and yeah, I was a little nervous, how I'd be received in that space because I'm going in there, I'm representing my business, and there's gonna be a lot of business owners and everything. So I'm giving myself the pep talk the whole way over. This just happened. And then I
mhm,
went in there and I'm feeling good, I'm feeling my I am, right? Then I get in there and now I got people approaching me, talking to me, and this and I said, oh shoot, I didn't even have to go and seek someone out to talk to them. It was like I was just being engaged in these different conversations. People were engaging me in those conversations. And I really believe it's because of the mindset I went into there. And it's not that I was fully confident, you know,
mhm,
that I
mhm,
had to pep talk myself so that I could show up I think, show up authentically.
Mm, 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 mm. I know it's one of those things that it's hard to put your finger on, you know. I mean, there was a time too when I was like saying yes to everything and to everybody, you know, clients, events, and all types of relationships and stuff. I didn't feel aligned, you know, and I was constantly like drained. My energy was gone. And then one day doing some breath work, I felt like a tightness right in my belly, you
Mm,
know, it was crazy, like right there in my core was a tightness. And then I was like, man, what is this? You know, I
mm,
had to check into that and really look close into the situation that was happening. And that's why I was feeling that thing, you know. There's a lot to be said about confidence and stimulating that who you are on the inside, you know.
right.
Really. I mean, if you talk to me, we don't know each other for too long, but when you talk to me, you
Mhm.
got to know me. I'm sure some things cross your mind. Something like, this is a brother that's confident. He speaks and he's
Right.
willing to say what is it that he wants to say, like that.
Yeah, you
But
command the room. You command the room when you're, you know what I'm saying? Like
thank you,
you're
thank
in
you.
a
I
space,
appreciate
you
that.
command the room.
I
And
appreciate
yeah.
that. That's and I have to tell you that's really my upbringing, like where I came from.
Mm,
Like in those type of situations, if you didn't move like that, man, you get your wig pulled back. Like, and I have too. There was some times when I caught it, but then I gave it to other guys too. Like,
right,
it's just
right.
because they were weak, and it was just one of those scenes in the scenario. Looking back, it's like just crazy that world. But
Yeah,
it's
and
it's something to be said about that confidence. You have to walk like that. Yeah, maybe they throw you a beating, but you just get up and just keep going, as
right,
opposed to
exactly.
somebody
Listen,
else that would move out of the neighborhood.
right, like I've caught it too, you know what I mean? And it's like even when I was getting beat down, I still stood back up. I may have been wobbly
Right.
and
Yep.
knew I was about
Right.
to catch it again, but it's
Right.
like you're
Yeah.
not gonna break me
Right.
in
Not gonna
the end
break
of the
me.
day.
Nope. Nope. And I'm coming out tomorrow. It's not like I'm gonna
Right,
stay in my house.
right,
It's like
exactly.
where you gonna run? Where you gonna run? Can't move out. Where you gonna move to?
You're not.
Yeah, it's not. No, it's just you have to adjust that way. So I bring a bit of that. So here I am navigating these other waters where like things are like peace and love and harmony and brotherhood and all of that. But once people talk to me, they see like it comes out a little bit. They go, oh yeah, you got that New York swag, like yeah,
Mm,
like it's just there. Like I don't, you
right.
know. I'm not the toughest guy or the strongest guy. I mean, I had to run many times too. But
Mhm.
you
And
know,
I'm glad you said that too, because that's something I was thinking. It's that there's this idea of what being tough is, and is it, pumping out your chest and walking a certain ways. Like there's a lot of guys out there who come off as if they're tough, but they're fronting like they're tough.
Mhm.
And it shows when some real man stuff happens, when it's time for them to step up and be a man or show their manhood, they hightail it out of there. And
Mhm,
so it's,
mhm,
what is tough. I've seen dudes, man.
mhm,
I have one friend, man, I seen him take such a whooping. And I promise you, he was not the toughest guy. He didn't fight, he nothing like that. He never claimed to be tough, but just like when I tell you, like as he was taking it, he stood back up. And that's all, and sometimes that's all it takes. And that's, if nothing else, you're showing the people who are doing that, okay, like this guy, like he's not just gonna take it lying down. He's not gonna run away, and nothing at the very least, they're gonna respect that individual. You know what I mean? Like being tough is
mhm.
not about like it's not about who's got the loudest bark.
Right. Right, right. I have another great friend. He's tapping into the program, and he left a comment saying, "Sometimes you have to learn to fight on all fours."
Ooh, ooh, ooh. Yeah,
I said, "No doubt, for real, all fours."
I'm
Yep.
glad you said that
Yep.
because there's
Hmm.
this video going around right now, and you see this dog. It's like a bunch of dogs in a kennel, and the dog's just barking at everybody. Ah, 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 you know what I'm saying? Just getting in everybody's face. All the dogs running away. Then all of a sudden, the camera goes over here. You see this one dog strolling in. This big dog just bows down. And he's not even that big, but he looks scruffy. He looks real, you know? And he walks over to the dog that's barking, and that dog just rolls over on its back and he kind of puts his paw down on it. Doesn't say a word, doesn't bark, doesn't nothing.
That's right.
But
That's
it's
right.
known and understood that
Yeah.
that one right there is not the one to play with.
Right, right. Yeah. I used to second guess myself all the time too on every decision. Like there was some debate going on in my mind, you know. Like once first of all, it was a little tough stepping in the room. Once I did step into the room, you know, it was still that thing inside, like, should I say something? Should I speak up? Or and then again, there was that knot in my stomach. I don't know if you've ever felt it before. It's like
Oh yeah.
deep in the core, like, you know. And then you've ever had that feeling where you're in a group and there needs to be some sort of decision to be made, like you would say, like a leadership role or something where an idea you want to speak out, and you know you should, and you're just about to
Yes.
say it, but you don't say it.
Yes.
And then your heart starts pounding, right? The heart starts coming
Yep.
right in your throat. It's like,
Thank you. I was gonna say you feel it in your throat because you know that's the throat chakra. You know it's supposed to come out of your mouth because there's times where we're in situations where you just happen to be the one with the answer. So why sit on that answer? You know, because that's gonna contribute to the community, whatever group that you're in. That's the community that you're in. That's the answer that's gonna contribute to that community. That's what's gonna help to unlock everyone else's medicine. And we can't just sit on that, you know. And I guess that's something that's taught from childhood. I don't know when it's taught. I don't know how it becomes
yeah.
a thing.
Some of it has to do with, you know, when I was coming up, kids should be seen and not heard. It was just like
Right,
that.
right.
Like, you know, unfortunately, I've gotten slapped in my face, so disrespectful from my mother, just because I interacted into something that she felt that this was an adult conversation.
Mhm.
And no matter if that was a nice thing or a helpful thing, you know, it was quite humiliating and embarrassing. So it's that
Right.
trauma, it's that deep trauma. It stays with you, bro. Of
Yep.
course, I'm not blaming mom or nothing like that. I mean,
Right.
you know what I mean. You know, it's just
Listen,
they didn't know no better, and they were taught like that too.
and thank you, and that's what I was gonna say, and you went right to what I was thinking. The children should be seen, not heard. We come from that generation where that's a thing, and so
Mhm.
now it's like we are. I want to be careful the words that we use, you know, because the words that I use, because you know, it's this is what our parents were taught by their parents and so forth, you know, and it's for a reason. I was actually speaking with one of my elders, and it was a really great conversation because we were just sitting there. There was about three generations, one, two, three generations in there. I was in the middle, and she was just explaining life. You know, she's from Guyana, and she was just explaining life and, you know, her life and things that she went through, and even like the medicine that she interacted with, like the healers that she interacted with coming up. And she was explaining that I think she and I spoke later. Maybe she said this, like the conversations, like what we were having, or the conversations that like she would sit around the fire or something like that with the elders and listen to them as they're talking. And it dawned on me that whole children are to be seen, not heard. Like there was a certain point because, you know, we are all children of slavery. You know what I mean? We of that
Mhm,
colonial system
mhm,
right here. So
mhm,
it's
mhm,
impacted us in our family lines in different ways.
mhm,
There
mhm,
was information that needed to be passed on that you couldn't just come out and say, okay, child, this is what it is. So you hear stories, and, you know, you hear about family members and elders and this and how they interacted. And in that, you learn the story. And you'd be like, I've heard, you know, by the time you're in your teens, I've heard this story 100 times. Maybe when if your
mhm,
elder lives long enough that you're in your 20s and 30s, you may be like, oh, that's the
mhm,
lesson in that story. That's the medicine in that story. So you're
mm,
gonna hear it over and over so that it's in your mind, but you
mm,
might not be able to decode what's being told to you until you grow older. And
right.
those are the environments, those are the institutions, if you will, that were created to pass on information to
Mm,
future generations. So children being seen, there's a lot of things that are done,
mm,
and it. I'm in a process right now of connecting a lot of dots. That's something since the last time you and I have spoken, it's more apparent to me what that means. But there's a lot of information that we need to pull together right now. And that's one of those things. The whole children being seen, not heard. It's because they're supposed to learn. You know what I mean? And it became so rigid. The elders, they do things a certain way, and that's the way that it's supposed to be done. But they lost why that's done.
Yeah, for sure, for
They lost
sure.
the why. You know what I mean?
I do.
Right.
You know, Cam, it makes me also think about, you know, you mentioned about the colonial system and all of this, you know, the conquerors that came in. I mean, there's a rabbit hole, you already know. It's just crazy, right? But some of these things, as you get older, you get to learn about your heritage and some of the practices that your ancestors did, and whether it is true or not. I mean, it's just as true as what they're teaching you today anyway, right?
Right.
But when the colonial system came in and they started you know, taking people out because they did not conform to the system that was being put in place, it was sort of a safety mechanism, right? So
Exactly.
you first of all, you wouldn't teach your kids about the old ways,
Right.
because if they speak some of that up, they would get your kid and they would chop your kid up, right? So you wouldn't, you would teach them whatever they're showing, the European, you know, like the show, you know, that
Yeah.
colonial system. Then it was just a safety mechanism. They just didn't want, so it kind of like goes under. But then there's that thing that you talk about, that story, you know, the storytelling. I think it's the Mahabharata, which is just one long song. It's a song.
It's a
Like people
song.
people can sing it. That's how they remembered it. That's how they remembered it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah. Yeah.
I've read the Mahabharata. That's a
Yeah.
long, it's like
Yeah.
it's
I'm sure it's
dense.
either the Vedic text or I'm not 100% sure
Uh-huh.
which one, but I was seeing that it's just one long song. Like they could recite it like just word for word, but with that melody, you know, so they
Yes.
don't forget, you know.
And thank you for that. And that's the thing. And that's like, again, like, man, brother, it's so much because, you know, I like to go to Kemet, right? You see what was
Mhm.
done with Kemet and all the writing on the walls and all that stuff. They knew that they were moving into an age of darkness. They knew that they
Mm.
were moving into an age of darkness when the information would be forgotten. And so they put it on the walls and they encoded it in the architecture. And
Oh, yeah,
again,
it's
I use
written in stone.
written in stone. And again, I use Africa as a reference because that's what I know a little better. I'm sure this was done all across the world, right?
Mhm.
Even the weaving, even how garments are woven. I'm reading I went back to a Dogon book, you know, Conversations with Olga Tomeli. That was one of the, you know, I read that maybe a
Mhm.
decade ago. And now I'm
Mhm.
going back now as a, you know, a more mature man
Mhm. Mhm.
and really pulling the understanding it out of it. Even
Mhm.
how clothing is woven, you know what I mean? It's
Mhm.
sacred. Like they say, you know, we don't do weaving in the dark because of
Mhm.
the history and the cosmogony
Mhm.
attached to
Ah,
weaving.
that's
You know what I'm saying?
beautiful. I don't do weaving in the dark.
You know
That's
what I'm saying? And there's a whole reason and an understanding, and
Mhm.
weaving goes into the creation of the universe, right? So let's go back to your point with the music and the singing.
Mhm.
They've encoded the ancient traditions, encoded, institutionalized
Mhm.
the passing on of knowledge and information. If you put
Mhm.
it in a song, there are songs on the radio. I don't listen to the radio much.
Mhm.
There's
Mhm. Me
songs that
either.
come on, and the first time I hear it, it's in my head. Can't get it out. I know the
Mhm.
words,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
Imagine now I was being given some sacred history and
Mhm.
quantum mechanical information in a long song.
Mhm.
You know
Mhm.
what I'm saying?
Right.
Using
Right.
that same mechanism
Right.
to now unlock my medicine and unlock my genetic memory. This
Mhm.
is what was done.
Mhm. Mhm.
You know what
Mhm.
I'm saying? In martial arts, you know about katas and karate, right?
Mhm. I do.
The katas, and you know,
I do. I
that's
do.
how they pass down information for
Mm.
thousands of years. The katas that people are doing today, are very much the katas that were practiced
Incredible.
years ago.
Wow.
You know what I'm
Wow.
saying? The
That makes
qigong and the tai
sense.
chi that we do is
Right.
the same tai
Right.
chi. It's the same yoga that's been
Yeah.
passed down
Yeah.
information.
It
You
was
see what I'm
the Shaolin, the Shaolin.
Yes.
The Shaolin. Yeah, they started to do like acrobatic performing. No, they wasn't. No, they wasn't. They were practicing. There was techniques there. Pay attention.
Right,
You know, right, right. I know what's up. It's
right.
there. It's there. So, um, let's take a pause for the moment here, if you don't
Mhm.
mind, right? Because I wanted to mention a couple of things before we continue. Because
Go
this
ahead.
is hot and heavy, man. I'm
Go
feeling
ahead.
it. I'm loving it.
Yeah, yeah, me too.
So we are having a very special experience that Omziel Healing Sanctuary is cultivating along with many people, including yourself. It's called the Purple Sage Festival. Why purple sage? Purple is the crown chakra, it's the royal color. You know, when they had Jesus or whatever his name was, right? When they were beating him, uh, the scriptures say they threw him a purple robe. They could have said they just threw him a towel or just a robe, but they said purple because purple is a sign of high status of royalty. It's in the color schemes. You know,
Very
it's the
specific.
crown chakra, right? And then the sage has to do with cleansing and clearing. Sage is called smudging, and that has to do with some of the indigenous people that are in the land where they've used that for cleansing and clearing, and also in ancient Kemet too. Some of also the Bedouins that are there too. They drink sage. They make it like a tea, and it keeps them very hydrated because they have many miles to cross through the desert. So sage
Mm,
has this lasting quality to help sustain you and to clear negative energy. So it's the Purple Sage Festival. It's happening June 28th. We want to help people with the ticket because it is a ticketed price. It's a
mhm.
ticketed offering, and there is energetic exchange that's happening here, and we want to give people a discount, right? Let me just say real quickly what you're getting here. You're getting live music from some local artists and some very, very well named artists that are well established within the industry. Okay. You're also getting an open mic where people can come and speak poetry, whatever spoken word. There are vendors there. We have food. I have a culinary chef that creates this beautiful food, alkaline food, right? His name is Free Alki. Alki? Yeah, it's alkaline. So it's Free Alki,
Mm.
and he's the alkaline chef, so it's just beautiful. The food he has is just amazing. I've been with him for a while, so he's our main chef there. We also have other vendors of crystals and necklaces and bracelets and copper wires and all of that. And then we have ARMEW is going to be there in the
We will
building
be
as
in the building.
well.
We will
So
be in
please,
the
why don't
building.
you tell us what is it that you're providing, brother?
Yeah, so I'll be doing my axial release. ARMEW, like I said, it stands for axial release massage and energy works. And I do it's massage, it's energy work, it's Reiki, it's Qigong, and all of that is incorporated into the treatments. And I really focus on the central nervous system with my treatments. If I mean, you may have seen Brother Omar when people come to my chair. I've had a lot of transformative experiences. I've had a lot of tears, a lot of tears, and that's people allowing themselves to release. And so that's what I'll be providing at the event. And just coupled, you'll be doing the ice plunges, correct?
We're going to start off with some ice plunge, and
Mhm.
we're working on a couple of other things too.
Mhm.
We like to get in a sweat lodge too, but
Mm.
there's some logistics that go on. Someone has to build it, and then we have
Right.
a gentleman that is connected with the Native American church, and he wants to come and facilitate that and run it. So,
Got you.
but definitely, I want to do the cold plunge in the beginning with the breath work. You
Well,
know.
it's a shamanic event, and so the work that I do is shamanic, and it just falls right in line with that. And oh man, maybe I'll talk about this afterwards, after the
Mhm.
show. But
Okay.
after, did you hear about what happened after your event at Nicholas? By the way, your event, the ice plunge at Nicholas, man, that was so powerful. And Everybody was floating after that. Everybody was floating. I was like, I have to massage after this. My parasympathetic nervous system was tripped, and my body was so calm and relaxed. I did 4 minutes in the ice water. I did 4 minutes, and I
Yep.
was guided through by the master Omar of Omziel. Man,
Thank you, brother.
it was such a powerful experience. And it reminds it was funny kind of being on the other end of that type of experience, because when I'm working with people, especially when I'm stretching them, and it's like I'm talking them through the experience so that they could get through, letting them know that their body can do it. And that's exactly what you did. I said, damn, this is the same thing. Okay, got you. Let him guide me through it, because I don't know what's going on right now.
Yeah, yeah.
He's
It's all
telling
the
me I
same.
can do it, and he's
Mm-hmm.
telling me I'll be okay. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I'll be okay.
Yeah. If you notice that when you was in the water, I started mentioning like personal things. See, because I know you a little bit. And I'm like, yeah, keep going. And then like it
Mhm.
starts to sink into the deeper, the
Yes.
reptilian brain deep
Yeah.
inside. So it can solidify and you can move with power. It's
Yeah.
powerful, bro. It's
Yeah.
powerful.
So after that, so everybody's floating, the vibration's great, and then we
Mhm.
had this. I won't call it a situation, because it wasn't a situation, but we had been fully prepared what was coming through the doors later on. I'll tell you about it later. But
Okay. All
it
right. I
was an
appreciate that.
intense experience
Oh
later
my
that
God.
evening.
Yes. Yes.
Did
Thank
you
you.
hear about it?
I did not, but I saw something earlier that maybe you're alluding to about the situation. But I could see, I guess it came out or came back or something. And okay, good. Well,
Yeah.
I'm glad that the ice and the breath and all that help people, man, deal
Yeah.
with anything. And
It
it's
was
it's.
powerful. And so, just to
Thank
kind
you.
of wrap up what I was saying, like,
Hmm.
it's shamanic work, and when we're doing shamanic work, it's going deeper into the technology of our bodies. And I think that's one thing that we have in common when it comes to how we're approaching the body and how we're approaching energy systems and the human being in general, is we're technology in the end of the day.
Hmm.
And the ancient ways, they were aware that we are technology, and so now we're going back to that understanding. I think humanity is kind of coming to that agreement again, that, oh, we're technology, this is how the technology works. So we're on the path now as humans. Okay, this is how the technology works. Once we collectively tap into how it works, then we're going to tap into, what do we do with this technology? We're learning to drive the car. Okay, I can
Right.
drive. Let's go
Right.
on a road trip. It's
Right.
got its own set of, unknowns and everything, but
Mhm.
we got to
Mhm.
learn to drive the car first before we can do
Yeah.
anything.
I did. Man, I heard this guy. He put it so beautifully that currently our society is where we have these advanced technologies with ancient bodies, within a dominant system. So we have this kind of mix. Like, what do we do with all this superpower, like this Atlantean technology? But we're still the same. Like, we're not evolving either.
Right.
And then there's this society like trying to control us in this thing. It's like it's just a crazy mix. So,
Yeah.
but thank you so much for that shout out. Thank you for everybody who is listening. We'd love to see you on June 28th. We have a number of great musicians and people that are coming aboard. We have a gentleman by the name of Kura. That's with a K,
Oh,
Kura. So Kura has been putting in some work over there in Nicholas, Brooklyn. Shout out to Nicholas, Brooklyn, and Monica as well, and the whole crew, Kafunya and Uncle Hank and all that.
Hank.
Um,
Hmm.
but Kura, I introduced him over there, and I'm loving it. Every time I see all these posts, man, he's there. He's giving the stingless bee honey drops in the eyes.
Hmm.
It penetrates the brain barrier. It's great. It has all kinds of vitamins and nutrients to your body and your brain. Clear thinking, helping you to decalcify the pineal gland, and your vision is great for cataracts. It's great for floaters. It's great. I mean, the guy, he knows his stuff. He's taught me all this repertoire that I have here, man.
Right.
And
Right.
he's gonna be there. Kura. He's a great brother, and he's one of the vendors that are gonna be there on June 28th. So just to wrap that up, I just want to say, come on through. June 28th, purchase the ticket at omzielhealingsanctuary.com. There's a tab there called Purple Sage, and you can see what to expect. And if you stay to the end of this broadcast, which we shouldn't be keeping you too much longer, but at the end, we're going to give you a nice code. That way we can help you out with that energetic exchange.
Beautiful.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to it.
Me too. So wait till you see the place. It's happening in Stone Mountain Farm in New Paltz, New York. It's about an hour and a half from where we live. So if you came from Brooklyn, it would take you a little bit more than that. Now 145, maybe 2. It has an option to sleep over, camping out. You know, we have some tents to rent out to people, and we're just gonna go all through the night, singing, guitar, under the stars. The stewards of the land, they are in charge of 250 acres of land there. We did the men's retreat. That's a whole nother thing too, man. The men's retreat was just powerful there, bro. They have access to lakes, to a waterfall. You know, they have a farm there. They have different lodging there. They have this kind of megalithic stone circles, like a stone hedge. Someone put these huge stone, huge. I mean, they're about your size or higher in a circular surrounding, and then there's one stone in the middle. So they have these elaborate productions with families. The kids are involved. There's puppets and lights and people swinging in the air and music. So they're high conscious. They're high. Check them out. Stone Mountain Farm LLC in New Paltz, Paltz, New York.
Oh, that's gonna be dope.
There's so
awesome.
much I could say about it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But let's just get back right into it, brother. This is what I was thinking, right? These are some of the powerful tools that we like to offer people, and this is called breath work, right? Not breath and waiting for the bus or having a sandwich, like this is breath work. You have to work at breath work. That's why they call it breath work. And when you talk about that thing in the pit of my stomach, in my solar plex area, where I was looking for that confidence, instead what I got was tightness, and nervousness and trembling. That was that solar plex area, my core, talking to me and telling me, hey, buddy, you got to address this, and I could tell you, Cam, that it was only with the breath work. That was the thing that helped to calm that and relax that. And it helped me to it's crazy, because you would think, hey, you got to be really tight in order to step into a room and take command of the room. No, it's the other way around. Like you go into battle, you got to go into like a warrior and angry. No, it's breath. Relax. Be the eye of the storm.
And I'm glad you said that. It's funny because that's almost exactly what I told the client the other day. I was working a corporate event, and these people are tight, uptight, just like you're talking about. And I use that same analogy that you used, the warrior in the battle. I talked about the samurai. I was like, the samurais are out there doing what they're doing. You think they're all tight? I said, no, they're zen the whole time. They're in a state of zen, and from that state, they're able to move the way that they move and cut through their opponents in whatever way needs to be done. Just like you said, it's coming from that stillness and from that peace, that place of peace. And I mean, there's a lot to the whole samurai philosophy because they're constantly confronting death. I think we've spoken about that on a past show or two, right? The whole, you're constantly confronted, and it's not a scary type of thing. It's just being in tune with your mortality. The more someone is in tune with their mortality, the more I believe that they can appreciate and enjoy every moment, every breath. You remember, oh man, what's the DJ's name? Fat Man Scoop.
Yep.
Remember Fat Man Scoop? You heard how he transitioned a few.
No, I did not.
Transitioned like a couple months ago. Fat Man Scoop, and he was doing his thing, emceeing, and he said something like, "How's everybody feeling?" or "Everybody make some noise." And he just dropped. You know what I'm saying? You know
Mm,
his voice,
right, of
his
course, of course.
infamous voice, right?
Mhm,
My
mhm.
man, to his last breath, he gave his last breath to the people. You think
Mm,
I'm pretty sure nobody knew that that's when he was going to transition. You know what I'm saying? So that's just to
right.
say, like, being in tune with your mortality at every moment. Nobody knows when their moment is going to be. Eh,
Right.
I don't believe that though, because I feel like some people know when it's coming. I feel like a lot of
Mm,
people know when it's coming. You know what I
mm.
mean?
Right,
But
right.
just say,
Mm,
enjoy these moments, enjoy
right,
every moment and being in tune with every moment and present with every
right.
moment.
And stand in your power, whatever it is that your lane is, like,
Hmm.
because you know the line from Rocky, "There is no tomorrow." There's
Right,
Apollo Creed. Apollo
right.
Creed is like, "There is Rocky, let's go. There is no tomorrow. It doesn't exist."
Mm,
People
mm.
like, "Oh, tomorrow." Who promised you that? Nobody promised you that. You're not promised none of that. So,
Nope.
yeah, that's one of the reasons why I do my best to stand in my power. I do it every time. How that comes out and looks, I don't know. you know I mean, for a long time I avoided conflicts,
Mm,
because as you come up, I was raised by my parents, very loving. They were very loving. They didn't beat me down. No, they didn't. They were not very nice sometimes, but they were doing the best that they can with whatever they were taught. Um but they were very loving, very, kissing me all the time and hugging me all the time, very loving like that. So, but when you're in the streets, it's a different thing. So, you got to get tough, and you better get tough fast, because somebody's going to test you, and you don't, speak up or stand up or show that type of leadership skills.
mhm.
And even when you do, there's always someone who wants to come and test you, and they'll be like,
Right.
"Oh, he's a he people like him. He's a leader. Like, let me test him.
Let me
Come
test
against it." And then you got to be ready for it. It comes.
you. Right.
So,
And again, maybe that's just part of life, part of manhood, part of humanhood. I don't know. But it's like, how does someone react or respond when they're tested?
mhm,
Does someone crawl into their shell, or does
mhm.
someone, you know,
Right.
show up?
It's the fight or flight.
Right. It's the
We
fight or
all have
flight.
it. Hmm.
Mhm. And there's another one I didn't know about. I learned from my psychologist friend, fawn, fight, flight, or fawn. And
Mm.
fawning is the fight, flight, fawn, and freeze. And fawning is almost like sucking up to the danger, something like that.
Mm.
Or you get beat up. Did I tell you how good you look in that muscle shirt?
Mm, mm.
You know what I'm saying?
Listen, man, I've talked myself out of a gunfight before too. Yeah,
Okay, so
that's interesting. That's
yeah,
very interesting. Wow, I
yeah.
had no
So
idea.
even the evolution of the understanding of the nervous system and
Mm,
how we operate is,
mm.
it's ongoing. It's
Yeah, and we should, like, educate. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off,
go
but
ahead. No.
we should educate ourselves and learn about the body. That's what we do here at Omziel Healing Sanctuary. Some
Hmm.
people think like, "Oh, I'm going over there for an ice plunge, man. I don't know if I could do it. My body is too cold." It has really nothing to do with that, bro. Really,
Yeah.
it's about your mind. It's just the mental. That's what this exercise is. And then it's a bit of education. That's why when we were at the Purely Holistic Soul Expo,
Mhm.
they told me, "Okay, this is the scenario. You're gonna have some ice, some water, and people are gonna get in." And I was like, "Man, we don't. I do breath work. I prepare people. Okay,
Right.
we're gonna blend it. We're gonna do it." And then I tried to give little snippets to people, but it's a whole thing. Learn about your central nerve, the autonomic nervous system. It's an
Mm.
autonomic. It's like breathing. You don't have to think to breathe.
Right.
No, you should, but but really you don't have to. It's autonomic. Like your body digests foods. You know,
Right.
you don't ask it to. You don't turn on a switch. It does it auto. It's the autonomic,
Mhm.
not nervous system. So it's like when you drive a car, you can't give it gas and break at the same time. So the body automatically chooses one, like you either fight or flight. But what you want to do is you want to be the eye of the storm. You don't have to punch everybody in the nose every time.
Right.
For that, go be a boxer and get paid for it.
Right, exactly. Like
At least, yeah,
if you're gonna fight, get paid for it at least.
exactly. Yeah, but yeah, you see some guys, you're fighting everybody, bro. Like, why? Everybody's not no, bro. And then then there's the opposite. You seen them, you know them, and there's certain words I'm not gonna say now about these. It's like, come on, bro, come on. Get a grow a pair, find a pair, or here I'll lend you a pair. Like, really, bro, come on, really.
Mhm.
You don't have to do that. You don't have to be like that. You don't have to
Right,
accept that. You don't got to take that. But
right.
that's what we're alluding to. We're talking about our confidence, our core,
Mhm.
what happens in the inside of us. Because what are we really made of? Are we the hands and the toes and the fingers? Like, no, we're the core. We're the core. That's the core. That's who we are right here. The inside. It contains all of our major organs inside of here. So
Mhm. Right.
mhm.
I wanna, this is something that, super producer Cindy Ashby sent. This is going back to children should be seen and not heard. She said, "Hear me out. The saying children should be seen and not heard can carry a different meaning than it traditionally suggests. Children are carefree, loving, friendly, and resilient. They embody faithfulness and speak the truth with sincerity. Perhaps this parable serves as a reminder for us to embrace the goodness inherent in being a child. Children are abundantly creative in their innocence, and their joy is contagious. Yes, children should be seen so that those of us who have grown bitter and uptight can take a page out of a child's book. We can learn to create, build, dance, sing, and laugh like they do. Sadly, many of us grow up constrained by the expectations and pressures of adulthood, often skipping over the joys of childhood. This happens when those who struggle to embrace their carefree nature inadvertently impose restrictions on the younger generation. But we can reconnect with that joy and creativity that defines childhood. Let us
Mhm.
cherish and learn from the beautiful qualities of children, reminding ourselves to nurture our inner child and live more freely. Super producer Cindy Ashby. I like that.
I love that. I
Like,
love that.
yeah,
That's beautiful. That's
yeah.
beautiful.
And that the idea that you do have bitter adults out there, right?
Mhm.
Who they try to impose that bitterness on the children.
Mhm. Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
let's not be those grown folks, you know?
Right. Right. True that. True that. I love that. We need to, yeah, scripture speaks about that too, right? The
Mm,
kingdom of God belong to the children.
right.
Because perhaps he was trying to say, Yeshua was the name I was looking for before.
Mhm.
Perhaps he was trying to say, be like children, remain like that, curious, inquisitive, open, forgiving, loving,
Mhm.
like playful, all those things that Cindy's talking about, all that.
Right.
That,
It says,
that's
"Come as a child.
right. Come
Come
as
as
a
a
child.
child."
Right. Yeah.
Mhm.
We're taking life so serious. It's not that serious, man. Take it easy.
Right, it'd be alright.
You see people walking around. Well, I'm an architect, and no, you perform architecture. You are not an
Right.
architect. You are so much more.
Right, and I love that, because and we're in the age again where I think we get to kind of rewrite that, and
Mm,
it's
mm,
happening with our generation and the younger generation,
mm,
especially where,
mm, mm,
like you said, okay, yeah, I do architecture, I do architecture, that's my
mm.
job,
Right,
but I'm this, I'm that, I'm that. Like
right.
people ask me what I do. Like, what do I
Mm,
do? I do lots of I write. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? I do lots of stuff. I like to walk in the woods. Like, what do I do
right,
for money? Is that what
right.
you're asking me? You know
I
what I
know, but man, that's me. That I've been like that for years.
mean? Right,
When you meet somebody, they go, "Oh, what do you do?" I train my body. I eat good food.
right,
I like to spend time. No, no, you know what I mean. What do you do?
right,
I just told you what I do.
right,
You trying to ask me what do I do for a living? Like, how do I make
right,
money? Is that what you want to know? Well, and then why? You're looking for 10 or 15% of my income, or like what's the
Right, because
point? That's not even who I am. You want to get to know me? Don't ask me that. Ask me
people
what's my
want
favorite color, what's my favorite movie, or the
people like to size up other people in the end of the day. They like to size them up, you know?
Mhm,
Do I
mhm.
make more? Do I make less? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
Mm.
and not even understand, like, bro.
Let's
Like,
keep it simple. Let's keep it simple. I have another brother too, and his name is Wilson. He goes by the name of Energy Orchestrator. Okay?
okay, that's your brethren. Okay.
Right, my brethren. And in fact, he is a combo practitioner. And we are having an event here at the Omziel Healing Sanctuary. And this is new, by the way, Cam. So here it goes. On June 8th, it's a Sunday, we're having a combo session. If anybody knows what that is a frog that comes from the Amazon basin,
Mm,
and they capture him and they spread him out like that, and they take the excretion off of his back, and
mm,
then they put it on like a bamboo wood slate, and then they let it dry, and that's how you transport it. It's medicine. And then with that dryness, you add a little bit of water and you reconstitute it, and it makes like this little white paste. So the process is they take a stick, you burn it, you blow it out, and you make it red, and you touch your skin with it. The practitioner does this. He does like 3 dots or 4 dots or 5 dots, whatever he feels it is. Then he breaks off the little first layer of your skin, and he puts that little ball of the excretion from the frog. He puts it on your skin, and then by the third or the fourth one, within like 30 seconds, you start feeling hot. By a minute, you start feeling really warm, and then you have to kind of sit with it for like about 2 or 3 minutes. You drink a lot of water beforehand.
mm,
You have to drink like a gallon of water before. Empty stomach in the morning. And then once they put the dots on you, people who know it, you start feeling very hot and swollen. Like they call it the Botox of the jungle, because it gives you a little bit of
mm,
like swollen lips, swollen eyes, just a little bit. But you're sitting with it for a few minutes, and then you start feeling like, oh, it's coming up, and then all that energy is released with all that water, and you purge into a bucket, and you
mm,
purge like about 3 times. Good. Like the first one is like really all the water, then the second one is like a little bit more, and then the last one is like the little bit of like the from the inside.
eh,
What it is doing, it's giving your organs like a good squeeze. You're getting a brand new liver. Okay.
oof,
So it's, some people go, oh, that's a frog poison. It's not poison. It works on your peptides. That's what it does. And it
mm,
causes that sensation for you to purge. You see? So you should do it with the practitioner, one who knows what he's talking about, right?
mhm,
And people, naturally, if they have heart problems, like you might not want to, mess with that or
right.
something like so. There's a whole consultation that he preps you beforehand, right? So this is on June 8th at the Omziel Healing Sanctuary in North
Oof,
Bergen, New Jersey. I'm going to be creating that Eventbrite so more people can come. And the reason why I'm mentioning him is because he left some comments in the chat here, and he was talking about that power, and the energy and the breath work and the confidence and all. And he
mm,
says to let go, let go of the attachments to the body,
mm,
just witness and surrender.
mm.
So thank you so much for that, brother Wilson.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah, yeah. That's all we have to do is just witness, let go. You know the one. I'm not my body. You know,
Right,
Yeah. We think we're like, oh, it's my body. I feel, or I have a cold. No, you don't have a cold. You're
right,
experiencing the symptoms of a cold or a fever or something, but that's not who you are. Words have power. So.
right, right. And we really have to. I'm glad you said that too, because right, it's just a good reminder that we have to change the language that we use and the spells that we put on ourselves out here.
Mhm.
People talk themselves into all kind of stuff and don't even realize it. And like this whole thing. Shout out to Mama Baina Bello, right?
Mhm.
She's an elder. I did an interview with her, and someone asked her a question about ancestral curses, and she was like, "Don't put that on yourself. You don't have an ancestral curse." You know what I
Mm,
mean? That's terminology that's being thrown around right now, but I stopped
mm,
saying it that day because, oh yeah,
yep,
right.
yep, yep.
Because my ancestors weren't cursed, then I'm not
Mm,
cursed,
that's
right?
right. That's
So
right.
now that changes my relationship with whatever trauma I'm going through, right?
Mhm,
Like, okay,
mhm,
it's not a
mhm,
curse, it's something that I'm passing through. It's an emotion that I'm passing through. It's a set of circumstances that I'm passing through that I will overcome. How about that?
mhm. Mhm.
Right?
Mhm.
Maybe it's bad behavior. Maybe what people are calling an ancestral curse is just bad behavior. What this,
Mhm.
like, okay, bad behavior can be corrected, it can be remedied, right?
Mhm,
There's a lot of
that's
things
right.
that I know I get from family, you know what I mean? That may not be
Mhm,
the best thing or the best way of going about things. Okay, so that can be
mhm,
remedied. Correct my bad
mhm,
behavior. Like
mhm, mhm.
that's easy. A
Right,
curse is like, oh, 7
right.
generations from
Yep. Right,
now, you know?
right, right. Yeah, we do
Right.
carry some things, that's true, but it's not a curse. No, it's not like that, you know.
Right.
There's things that do plague families,
Oh yeah.
mine, like many families, the alcohol, you
Mhm.
know, it plagues us and it strips us of our manhood and our
Mhm.
confidence, right? Because that's what we're
Mhm.
talking about here. We're talking about our
Yep.
confidence, our core, who we are, our essence. So
Right.
alcohol strips you from that. I was with the tell you a quick story, man. I was
Mhm.
with the kids in the city, took the wife out. It was her birthday, went to an Indian restaurant, and we enjoy eating many different cultural foods. Indian is just one of them. And
Mhm.
I found this one and we went to the city, but the kids, they're not into that. So I was like, okay, so we got to feed the kids. They like some French fries and some chicken. Oh man, all right.
Right,
We don't
right.
we don't do McDonald's. We don't do Wendy's. No, we try to
Mhm.
go to a restaurant to get a better quality, right?
Mhm.
So we found this one restaurant that it was like a Viking bar restaurant, right? Even the name of it is called Valhalla,
Ooh,
right?
okay.
So if you know Valhalla, right, is like hell in
Right, yeah, yeah,
the
right.
Viking world, right?
Right,
So
or the underworld or
right,
something.
exactly. Yeah,
Mhm.
it wasn't a theme bar. It was just that was just the name of it. So I'm at the bar and I said, okay, let me get some fries and some chicken, something, and this and that. She went, okay, and I paid with the credit card. Cam, they served this guy right next to me a 16 ounce of beer.
Mm,
The color was blonde with a nice little foam on the top.
mm,
Just for an instant, just in the snap of a finger, I was there. The taste of it, the crispiness of it, the satisfaction
mm,
of it, the bitterness of it, the lightheadedness of it. I was there, bro, just in that flash. And I was like, wow. Wow, it's
mm,
incredible how those things they plague our families, bro. And no matter how much it destroys our family, because it has destroyed my family, bro. Trust me when I tell
mm,
you, bro. Okay, it's the gateway drug. Believe me when I tell
mm,
you.
mm,
And so here I am, a man standing in my confidence and all that. I'm moving in my power, but there it is, bam, in a flash, like it's almost there. It's something should be said about that.
yeah,
That those things they really don't go away, bro. They
right,
really don't go away. They're
right.
always there, bro.
And so that right there is part of your epigenetic makeup, you know? You now have how through however many generations, now your body has a response to that, you know? And
Mhm,
it's not, you know, it's detrimental for you in a way it might not be to somebody else because
mhm,
of the experience that was passed down to you, right? Then also because you chose in life not to engage in it. You don't drink anymore, right? I believe is what
mhm.
you told me, right?
Nothing, bro. Nope.
Right.
No.
So
Not
for
alcohol.
right, not alcohol, right? So for you, even that, it's like the lure of it, or just that it's in there, you know. And so it's true, you know. Like, and I'll share as well. Like my family has a lot of drug addiction, you know. So it's like there's certain family members who don't touch anything because they're like, nah, I don't want to. I never have, and I don't want to find out what's gonna happen because we do have family members who didn't turn out so well because of their addictions. And then there's such a relation between drug addiction and mental health as well. And so you got some people that dove in and other people who chose not to. and to make that choice that no, I'm not gonna take that. That's a huge one right there, you know? Like, is that a curse? I don't wanna call it, I still don't wanna call it a curse, but I think you're right that we do have to talk about those things, you know, and speak more publicly about them and more openly about
Mhm.
them as a people, because these are things that do plague our families, they plague our communities, and there needs to be a level of awareness, you know, like if grandma drinks and mom
Mhm.
drinks and I drink and now my child drinks, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like
Yep.
we need to.
Yeah. Yeah. I listen, my kids go to the family gatherings and all that, bro, and I don't like it. I don't like it. I like to go with them. That way I get there early and I leave early. That's it
Mhm.
before things get ugly. And they're a beautiful family. No fights, no none of that, bro. But nah, I don't want the kids to, but they know that they're becoming more aware, you know. Oh, what's that, daddy? You know, or they came home like, you know, playing in the backyard of some family members and in their pockets had two bottle caps, you know, of Corona beer, you know.
Right, right.
Nah, nah, I don't like that. That's why I tell her, you know, come early, please. I don't, no, I don't, you know, I want them to be with family, but
Mhm.
all that environment, like, why?
Right.
It's a
And
birthday, let's drink. It's a bar mitzvah, let's drink. You know, the clothes came out clean from the laundry, let's drink.
right. And you know, it's fun. Like with me, like I'm not a big drinker. Sometimes I might have a beer, you know what I mean? But it's
Mhm,
like even around certain family members, like I'm not going to, because I'm not going to encourage that behavior, because
mhm, mhm,
that's not cool in the end
mhm.
of the day. You know what I mean? And
It
so
does. Mhm, mhm, mhm. Go
yeah.
ahead.
So even that's a thing. Like I might go to a family gather, people might be drinking all kinds of stuff. I might not drink. I
Right,
might not touch that, because I understand even kind of like the community. Oh, I'm a social drinker. You know, some people are social drinkers or
right,
social smokers. Like,
right, right.
but that might be encouraging bad behavior.
Yeah, and it does. I mean, anything that you take in that stops you from being your best version of you, you should reconsider it. If it's cannabis or beer or wine, you know, people are like, oh, I
Right.
just drink wine. Yeah, yeah, but you don't train your body. You're not doing yoga or you're not meditating. You know, come on now, try
Mhm.
that. You know, try that breath work. You know, right? We call it like getting high on your own supply. You know,
Right.
I've done some breath work, brother. I've stepped into other dimensions almost. Like bro, I've done some breath work where I didn't know whether I was breathing in or breathing out. I was
Yes.
somewhere else. Like I didn't know where I was. I was somewhere that they were telling me to come back. I was like,
I'm glad you said that, because there's certain levels of breath work where you get into it and you're like, wait, when's the last time I inhaled? Am I
yep,
still
yep.
breathing? Like, what's going
Am I still doing the breath work? I don't know. Yeah, bro.
on? Right?
Yep, yep.
the the body is incredible. The human body is incredible, and
Mhm,
we
mhm.
really, as humans, we really are learning who and what we are. We're relearning who and what we are.
Yeah,
And I think a
yeah.
lot of people are going to be pleasantly surprised when they discover who and what we are.
Yeah, yeah, true that. And we have to unlearn a lot of things.
Hmm.
You know, that I noticed that too coming up. Like, oh man, wait a minute, my mom used to do that. You know, Uncle Frank used to. Yeah, you need to unlearn that. They taught
Right.
it to you, bro. Like, it's not who you are. You don't have to do that too. You know.
Right.
But
Right.
what are we talking about, Cam? Here we're talking about, you know, our core and our I am, right? It's the I am, and that's located right there in your solar plex area, right
Mm-hmm.
there, and that is the solar plex, right? The solar plex chakra,
Right.
right? You know,
Right.
so that's what we're getting at, the solar plexus
Hmm.
chakra. That's how they state that that's what it is, and it's quite intense, man. You know, you feel fear there, you feel tension there, you feel all of that, and breath work is a powerful thing. You know, it helps you in that. And then we're talking about the confidence, right? Because that's where you get your confidence. You feel it right there burning like fire in your belly.
Mhm.
And I did make a couple of notes over here that I wanted to say about the solar plexus and having purpose. This is
Yes.
where it's linked with your clarity and your purpose in your life, right? It helps you to choose the aligned actions over people pleasing.
Mm.
You see? It's like,
Right.
is this my purpose, or am I doing this like to help, Jim from up the block? It also helps you to reclaim your yes,
Mm.
and your sacred no.
Ooh, the sacred no.
That's right.
Mm.
You see, I put that down. I was like, yes, that's what it is.
Yeah.
This is my yes. I'm finding that again. But the sacred no, like, brother, thank you, but no, I can't right now. I'm not gonna go there. I'm not gonna do that. I don't do that. I'm good, brother. I can't help you. No, I got the podcast coming up, and
Right.
I want to help you. Can we do it on Monday? You know,
Right.
it don't have to be a no. It could be like, not right now. And then also breaking free from societal expectations and tuning into your own inner compass. You see, all animals have that on the planet, the inner compass. That's why
Mhm.
that's why birds fly south, and we have that too.
Yep.
We can't be that disconnected from things, from events, from our own self and who we are. You know.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
what do you
It
say
it's
about
it's a
that, brother?
survival it's a survival mechanism. It's a tool that's being given to us, and, I think a lot of the tools I'm glad you mentioned the animals. I feel like a lot of the tools that we've been given, society is like, "Nah, well, you're gonna do it this way,"
Mhm.
instead of following instinct, because like you said, like for animals in the wild, like they don't have the option of not following that. No, I'm not going over there. Not could be lions. I know I'm gonna go this way. Like, well, my gut's telling me don't go over there, but I'm gonna go over there anyway because A, B, and C. Like, no,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
they
yeah.
don't play those games. And
Mm,
so it's in us. All those tools are in us. And that's like the basics of what we've been given to navigate this realm. And so we
mm,
got to get back in touch with the intuition. This is what someone explained to me and kind of reminded me of this the other day. It's like those things, the intuitions or the things that are for us, they it's not gonna be painful or struggle as far as the intuition. Like I'm trying to think of the best way to say it. Like it's gonna be gentle. You know what I
mm,
mean? It's gonna
mm,
be a gentle feeling. "Oh, I think I should go this way. Let me go this way." If
mm,
it's like I gotta fight against myself to go that way, now that's probably not what's for me. That's probably not the thing that's serving me.
mm,
So it's,
mm,
really being in tune with our bodies. I could tell, bro, like there's so many people walking around right now who are not in tune with their bodies at
mm,
all. Not in tune with their bodies, not in tune with their mind. Like
mm,
I think you and I spoke about this. Not
mm,
sure.
mm,
During COVID, this is what I
mm,
heard from the young folks, right?
mm,
People in their 20s, really.
mm,
When the most difficult part about COVID
mm.
when they were on lockdown was being inside with their thoughts,
Mhm, mhm. That was
their
the
own
hardest thing.
thoughts.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the hardest thing. I don't know about you. That wasn't really a thing for me. I'm with
Mm-mm.
my thoughts all the time. And
Right,
cool
right.
with that. Like we cool. Like we cool.
Yep.
You know what I mean? But that's a thing. So there are people who are really detached from their thought process. Like I remember, I don't know if I told you this. I remember being a certain age and all of a sudden becoming aware of the thoughts that I was thinking
Mhm,
and having
mhm,
to now deal with like, damn, like, okay,
mhm,
I'm having these thoughts. What
mm,
actions are coming from these thoughts? So I was moving around
mhm, mhm,
unconscious of how my thoughts were leading to actions, behaviors,
mhm,
you know what I
mhm,
mean? And then on another level, how that was being perceived by other people.
mm, mm,
So it's a process I feel like we're all supposed to go through. Like I feel like that's part of the developmental process
mm,
is where we're supposed to, okay, these are my thoughts. These are the actions that are attached to these thoughts. These are the behaviors that these actions create. right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I'm just seeing it, like I see it with people every day, like the
Mhm.
detachment from who they really are.
Right. You know, you spoke earlier about um being brought up in these environments, and it's just part of it, the growing process, and sometimes we have to go through some of these things, you know, but perhaps we don't really have to go through certain things in order
Mm,
to learn. We're never taught the right way. So take something like the rite of passage,
thank
you see.
Mhm.
So this is a powerful one. You know, I never received that. When I was coming up, all they told me was, "How many girlfriends do you have?" And that was it. "Oh, want to be a man? Come on, have a drink. Drink it up. Here's a hard
Right.
drink. Drink it. Hold it down. Toughen it up." And those type of things, or get
Mhm.
that money, get the money. Yeah, go get a job. Now you're a man. You got a job.
Right.
You're a man now. And
Right.
but the rite of passage is quite different. So here at the Omziel Healing Sanctuary, we also do that too. We
Mm,
created a Yep, we
mm.
created a whole ceremony with this brother came over. He came over with like 18 family members, bro. Uncles, aunts, cousin, nephews, his brothers, his sister, and the kids.
Mm.
Yeah, we had some cacao, a whole ceremony. There was drumming, there was talks and everything. We also did the breath and the ice. That's
Mm.
that's where that's where the youngest we've had, a 10-year-old in the ice plunge.
Wow.
10. Yep, for 2
Mm.
minutes, bro. It was hard. It was rough. The first
Mhm.
minute was like, the second minute, like, the
Right.
brother had to come in and talk to him, like, come on, hang in there. And he was like, I can't do it. But he did it, but he did it, but he
Mm.
did it.
Mm.
So here we are in this environment, and they're talking to the man, the young man, saying, "You're 13 now.
Mm.
You're a young man. You're not a kid no more. You can still do those kids things because we're not expecting you to, but you need to know that here's your marker. The marker is today, right now. You're stepping into your manhood. This is the rite of passage. I mean,
Mm.
they schooled him in everything. They had the boy write down a whole thing, what he wanted to say to his mom and dad. And then the parents were prepared too,
Wow.
to say and they spoke to the boy, hey, as you were coming, when we first saw you and everything. And now here it is. The milestone is here. And then he came out too with his own mom, dad, this is how I feel at the moment. And all this, and I can see now, and I appreciate all this, and oh, bro, it was
Man,
powerful, bro. Yep,
man.
yep.
So those are the institutions that I feel are important that we need to get back to. I always say that like, okay, in biology, we talk about functional units, right? So the cell is the functional unit of tissue. Tissue is the functional unit of organ, right?
Mhm, mhm,
So neurons, for instance, are functional units of the nervous system. So I always say that the functional unit, that family is the functional unit of community, and community is the functional unit of civilization, right?
mhm,
And so, what are the things that hold community? What are the things that hold family together? What are the things that hold community and civilization together? It's things like, it's the institutions like rites of passage. Because what does it mean to be a man? What does it mean to be a woman?
mhm,
Even in these days, that's, maybe we need some rites of passage for these changing times. But the most important thing is, what does it mean for this child to become an adult and a productive member of their community and their society? The
mhm,
contribution that they bring, what type of responsibilities can they anticipate taking on
mhm, mhm,
as a young man or a young woman? you know
mhm,
because there's this thing where you see children just get big, and all of a sudden, they don't realize, like, I know 13, 14 year olds who you look at them and be like, okay, maybe that's an 18-year-old. I'm talking to you like an 18-year-old. Why are you looking all around? Why are you not looking me in my face? You know what I'm saying?
mhm.
That's
Right.
exposing you. Oh,
Yep. Yep.
you're a child.
Yeah. Right.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying, brother?
Right.
But it's
Yep.
like
Yep. You.
I may
Yep.
have that sympathy, but someone else, and I've seen it, someone else not gonna have that. Why is this rolling their eyes at me? All right, I ain't even dealing with you. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
You
Yeah.
crazy
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah. Or light them up right there.
But
Yeah.
right,
It's like he's
exactly.
only a baby, bro.
It's
Yeah.
still a child. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that child
Yeah.
hasn't gone through. They haven't. There hasn't been a formal passing to that threshold to let you know, okay, you're moving into adulthood. You're still a child, but you're moving into adulthood. People are gonna look at you and treat you a certain way, maybe
Mhm.
just because of how big you are. So you have
Mhm.
to have a certain understanding as you navigate this realm now,
Thank
big
you.
child.
Mhm, mhm. Yes, yes, yes. It's powerful, brother.
Yeah.
We have the men's retreats, right?
Thank you, brother.
Of course,
Thank you, brother.
in the part of the Omziel Healing Sanctuary, the men's retreat is called the Windhorse Rising Men's Experience. We have a whole platform and sessions that involve men and tapping into their power and releasing some of these child like tendencies and things like that. So when you speak about these young men that should be young men, but they're really, really, really young in the mind, um,
Right.
we notice that in these groups, some of the younger guys, they look like men. They have hair and everything. They
Mhm.
have a job and they have, a sexual intercourse with their girlfriend and all that, bro. A
Mhm.
whole thing. Some of them might even have put out a kid and everything. But
Mhm.
then you see him like he can't get off the cell phone. You're at a men's retreat, bro, and you're scrolling on your phone. You're in the wilderness, bro, here. Or, he go off to the side and you just got to smoke that cannabis. Couldn't let it go for a day. Not even one day just to let it go, man. And don't get my words twisted. I don't want people saying, oh, you're talking against cannabis. Like, it's medicine and you should treat it for something that helps you to create and in a different way, not just like an escapism, because that's
Right.
what that is.
There's a place for it.
There's a place for it, but that's what we do. We take men away and help them to unplug from the matrix, to let go of that. Phone calls, laptops, cell phones, electronic devices, communications out in wilderness, which is our natural setting, right?
Mhm.
And then we pose different questions to men, ask them, what's your purpose, what are you doing, what is your daily routine when you wake up in the morning, how does your life look, what is it that what's your goals, what are you writing down, do you journal, let's get some breath work in, let's go for the cold plunge, let's do some somatic breath.
Mm.
And yeah, there was a lot of tears, man. Brothers cried,
Mm.
bro. There was breakthroughs, bro. Guys were reporting back, man, I broke through. They were spending time with that child, the inner child, or just crying. Some brother was like, he told me, do you know how long, bro, for years that I've been wanting to cry? And
Mm.
I haven't, bro. And he felt safe enough in our presence of men in a safe container to even speak some of those words like, hey, this traumatic event happened to me, or yeah, I got this thing on my mind, is or my wife, my financial situations, or my children, or one guy lost a child,
Mm.
and another brother was like, wow, man, I can only imagine. I was like, no, you can't, bro. You can't even imagine what that brother's going through. You don't
Right.
even, no, don't even say that, bro.
Right.
You can't imagine. No, no, no. How you gonna move on from that? You see,
Right.
and then be a man and be a leader, and move in your power. Ooh.
Right.
And that's our task, is to help people to navigate through that. It's not a quick bullet. It's not a quick 6-minute abs. Like, it's not like that,
Yeah.
bro. Nah.
Right.
But
And
it's retreat. It's retreat. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
and something that's really important about what you're doing with your retreat is it's listen, there's all this talk about the reemergence of the divine feminine, right? But she can't stand alone. This
Mm.
is a world of duality. This is a world of, you know what I'm saying? Strong opposites. This is the
Mhm.
divine masculine. What you're expressing is the divine masculine, the sacred masculine.
Mm.
And shout out to all the women, all the sisters out there who recognize that their counterpart is the divine masculine because they
Mhm.
understand. And we're not even talking about sexual relationships.
Right.
We're
Nope.
talking about
Nope.
there's sisters out
Mhm.
there who are doing the work, you know, who are meeting with their sisters. They're holding these circles, they're holding these spaces for each other. And they're
Mhm.
like, where are y'all at? Where are the men?
Right. Mhm.
Because they understand they can't do everything and they're not trying to do everything. And as men, we know they're not supposed to do everything. We
Right.
need to show up. And a big part of that is what you're describing right there with
Mhm.
the men's retreat and
Mhm.
men's circles and men's group
Mhm.
where
Yeah.
we support each other. This is so encoded into the female experience. And it's
Mhm.
something that they've carried for generations. And it's something
Yeah.
that we've lost for one
Mhm.
reason or another.
Yeah.
I say because of colonization, we've lost it. I don't need to go too deep into that, but
Right. Yeah.
it's something that our peoples have done for a long time. Men
Yeah.
and women, you have men's groups,
Yeah.
men that support each other. Men have been able to cry. This whole macho thing where you don't cry and you don't show emotions, this is new
Right.
in the human experience. This is
Right.
new. There are
Right.
groups where you go with men, and if you gotta cry, you cry. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like you said, a brother
Right.
lost a child. Like that's
Right.
traumatic right there. And
Yeah.
if someone who hasn't experienced that can have no idea what that is, and to be able to cry about that around your brothers in a safe
Yep.
space, you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? That's what that helps you grow as a
Yeah.
man.
It
That
does.
helps you grow emotionally, spiritually. You mature, you
Yeah.
know? And
Yep.
so
Yep.
men need these, like right now in these times, we
Mhm.
need these type of
Mhm.
experiences so that we can grow into the divine masculine men that we're supposed to be in these times.
You know, it makes me think of the human experience that you spoke about, right? You've heard the term hunter gatherers, right?
Right,
So the men were the hunters and the women were the ones who gathered things.
right,
So they were more in communion. They were more talking, together while they were, collecting, beads to put on, the weaving of the clothes and gathering the food together, the
right,
roots and all of that, and preparing the meals. Where the men were out, you know, out in the field hunting for live animal. You had to catch something, kill it, and drag it home. So you would
mhm.
imagine there's not a lot of conversations that are going
Thank
on
you.
out there. You see what I'm saying? Because
Silence.
exactly, because if not, the jaguar hears you and your lunch.
Right. Exactly. I never thought of it like that, but that is
Mhm.
so right.
Yeah.
Imagine that. You had a whole bunch of men out there and we just moving
Right.
by, we
Yeah,
shooting
we
looks
move
at each
quietly.
other and
Right.
you know what I'm
Exactly.
saying?
Exactly. But check this out. What we've lost is that when the men did come back, there was conversations by the fire. There was
Right,
ceremonial things happening where they were in tune with nature. They were always in tune with nature. That's why when 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 Europeans came over here and they told the natives, like, yeah, could you sell me the land? I'll get, and they laughed at them. They were like,
right.
you can't buy the land. They had no concept of that. There was like, you
No
we
concept.
we belong to the land. What are you
All right,
talking
all right, we'll sell
about?
you the land. Yeah, give me that. We'll sell you the land.
Yeah, and that has happened in some cases too. They were like,
Right,
"Yeah, we bought Manhattan for a bag of shells,
right.
from the chief." And other guys was like, "That's no chief, bro. That was this guy from up the block." You came from- no, no. And they were like, "Yeah, we bought it. He signed right here." Like,
Wow.
no. So it's that thing that we're missing,
Mm,
that ceremonial where men did come back together and spoke and planned for the
mm,
next outing of hunting, speaking to other brothers, directly telling him, hey, listen, Joaquin, you need to step up your game, bro, because
right,
that thing went down over there and this guy got caught and we had to drag the animal off of him and look, he's scratched up. I'm just saying,
right.
you don't like it, you're upset. Well, too bad, deal with it, because we are here, we're a community, and you got
And
to deal with it. Step up. You're a man. Let's go.
thank you. And I'm glad you said that, because even that, I come from a generation and where we would check each other, or you would get checked for your
Hmm.
BS. You know what I'm saying? It's like
Right,
you're not
right.
behaving a certain way, you're behaving
Hmm.
a certain way,
Hmm.
someone's going to check you on it. And
Right.
so now when that happens, I notice that when it happens with, some younger folks, they don't know how to deal with that because they haven't been in that type of environment, or it's a new generation, whatever
Right.
reason, whatever they want to call it. But it's like that's what makes people stronger. You
Mm,
get checked on your BS, you don't do it anymore,
mm,
and it's not like you just get scolded. It's like that was wrong, or you could have done better with that for
mhm,
this reason. This is the impact that you had,
mm,
and this is how we can move forward from this,
mhm,
where it's not just about condemning someone, but it's about how can you be a better community member? How can you be a better member of this group, this family, this community, whatever it is? And then
yeah,
we move on from that. And so that's
right.
an essential part of what you talk about. Just like you said, homeboy,
Mhm.
he let the animal jump on the next man. Like, nah, like we got to check that,
You gotta
because
check that, bro.
how are we
Right.
going to move forwards and be a
Mhm.
stronger unit if we don't check that? And
Yeah,
people have to know that when they come into that circle, that's what it is. That's the
yeah,
etiquette,
yeah, yeah.
in that space.
Mhm. I mean, we deal with lots of people too, and I know that there's brothers that they don't come around. Why? Because I check them, not in a disrespectful way. Like, no, I'm not the tough guy. It's not like that, bro. Not like that. No, no. Just like, hey, you're part of this. Like you said, you was down. Oh, we building and all of that. You said you was gonna meet me at 3 o'clock, and you're showing up the next day, calling me at 4, talking about, hey, what's going on? Everything's cool. No, everything's not cool, bro. Like, come on, I'm not mad. I'm just saying, like, come on, bro, check yourself. I'm here to
Right,
check you. And then they'd be like, I'm sure, in their head, they're probably go, man, Omar, man, that guy, he's wild, man. I ain't messing with him. I ain't going over there no more. Good. Don't come no more. You know?
right,
Come on. Like, we're men here. All we have is our word. We're responsible in that way.
right,
You should carry yourself in that way. But when you're immature in that sense, it's hard to grow things, right? What organization, what business or something like that, or what army? If you're in the army, you know what I'm saying? It's like this. It's got to be like this. It's not like the way you want it. And I'm not
right.
doing that. No, no. That's why people
You're not
don't go to the army,
pulling
because they be
you're
like,
not
nah,
pulling none of that in the
yeah,
military. None of that is happening.
no, no.
Right.
Like what was his name? Schwartz, Colonel the Schwartz. He was doing the Bush.
Schwarzkopf?
Yeah,
Yeah,
he was doing the
Schwarzkopf,
Bush
General Schwarzkopf, right.
administration. And
Mhm.
one of his quotes is, "Shiny boots wins wars."
Ooh,
What he meant by that was like, it's
right.
that discipline, it's that staying strong, let's go, getting your shit together in order, like that.
Mhm.
That's how we move forward, and that's how we get things accomplished. And people
Right.
just don't realize that. They don't understand it.
It's the little details, I always tell this story, like my uncle, part of my family's from Bermuda, right? So my uncle had a bakery down in Bermuda. And I went there one summer. It was just 3 weeks that I was working with him, but this was a transformational 3 weeks. He was like, "Okay, we're gonna cut potatoes today. Hand cut potatoes, hand cut fries." That's what he had, right? So I had the little device in, but first I had to scrub the potatoes with a brush. He had a special brush, and I promise you, it felt like a half hour. He sit there and showed me, "This is how you got to make sure you get the dirt off the potato, and this, that, and that, and then you cut it, right? And you put it in the water and all this stuff. A half hour, you know what I mean? And after that, he
Right.
left me to do it. But he made sure to show me for a half hour how to scrub that potato. The floors.
Mm,
He said, "I
mm,
haven't had anyone in here to really clean these floors.
mm,
You're gonna do it, right?" So
mm,
he showed me, you got the hard brush and the detergent, and you going in between the grout now. The grout in
mm,
the bakery, bro. Just get in there. And I swear it was an hour. He was on the floor and he did one square, just one, two,
mm,
three, four, right?
mhm,
And then left me in there to do the floor. He said, "That's how you do the floor." I
mm,
tell you, that
mm.
shit was annoying as a 14-year-old, but
Right.
I un- he, I could never say I didn't know how to clean the grout out of a floor
Right,
in a
right,
busy restaurant. You know what I'm saying, brother?
right,
It's like
right.
that type of discipline. It's like that type. It's what you're talking about. It's the
Mm.
discipline of being able to sit there and do a job the right way.
Yep. Yep. That's right. It sucks. It hurts. It's no good. I'm not enjoying it, but I'm doing it.
Right.
And lots of people are missing that. I missed it for a long time too. Like I was not only sleeping, I was in a coma. You
Mm,
know, Like, my story is quite, complex and could be brutal sometimes. But once I got some clarity about things and I started taking things off, like, wow, I just saw the light,
mm,
and then people want to put you in a box right away. Oh, he's spiritual, you know oh, he's religious, and I'm just me. I'm aware of some things, and then every now and then some people come and test me, right?
right. Of course. Right. Right.
And then I try to tell them, like, look, be careful, right? Because all this spirituality is not like that now. I'm not a doormat. I'm not gonna let you wipe your boots on my forehead. Nobody likes that. I'm not gonna allow that either.
Mhm,
So it's a bit of that, letting men know in these circles, like, there's some sort of balance here, but you need to push on some sides too. You can't be, go punch everybody in the face, but you need to be strong, but
right.
also the other way too. You don't want to be totally, like, let people just trample on you and be like, oh, thank you, yes, please step on me, I'm
Right.
enjoying it. You
Right.
don't want that either, but you want to be compassionate to people and open. And that's what we do here at Omziel. Like,
Right.
there's so many people that have opened up, man, touched people's lives, bro, deep, and you can't buy that nowhere,
Mm,
right? So many tears, so many, pain release,
mm,
letting that go, like, from the core. I've had people saying, man, I felt it right in my core, like in my solar plex area. It was like eating at me. And I know that feeling because I had told you that you know, I have struggled with alcohol, greatly. Like,
mhm,
when I wanted to get off that ride, like, I didn't know who was driving it, but I wanted off. But where did I feel it? I felt it in my core, Cam, right
mhm,
there in my solar plex area, bro, right there. It was like whatever that was, that energy had me. Where did it have me? It didn't have me in my leg or in my buttocks, or no,
mm,
it had me in my core, bro. I felt it. And I compare it to, shooting heroin. I've never shot heroin before, but that urging, that yearning inside, it had me in there, bro. And I was doing things, I was moving with that thing. It was pushing me in different areas and pulling me, and then at some point I was like, yo, man, I want off of this, bro. No. But
mhm,
just when I was starting to get clear from some of those things, it was almost as if it was telling me, "Oh, no, we ain't letting you go. No, 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 no.
mm,
This is who you are." I was hearing that voice, like, "Just accept it."
mm,
And there was times when I was trying to come to some sort of agreement. Like, I was like, "Man, look, this is just who I am. It's just how I do. That's it." And it just wasn't sticking. I couldn't do it, bro. I couldn't. I want it off. And some things helped me, We could always talk about that offline.
mhm, right, 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 right. But that's yeah.
But it helped me to be a man, to step up and say, I'm not going to move like that. No, I don't go there no more. I'm not going to spend money on that. And no matter how nice that looks, or how good she looks, or how attractive that thing is, or how exciting or adventurous, I'm not doing that. I move with integrity.
Mm,
Integrity is being a man. It's what
mm,
you do when no one is looking.
right,
No.
right, exactly. And I think that's a tough one for a lot of people. I hope it's not, but I think it is. Like you said, what you do when nobody is looking. And
Mhm.
I think that that's one of the tests of manhood, of humanhood, of womanhood as well.
Mhm.
It's like how is a person really behave? Like, who are they really? And
Mm.
that's the part. So, sometimes people, I guess, when they're alone with themselves and their thoughts,
Mhm.
they get to see the ugly side. And
Right.
I think that's the shadow work, right? That's the shadow
Mhm.
work. see some things that, ooh, I don't like that, but that's
Mhm.
me. That's part of my fabric, isn't it? Okay.
Right,
You
right.
know? So it's like, but doing part of that shadow work is transmuting that. You know what I'm saying? Integrating
Mm.
that to the personality. It's like, okay, this is who I am.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
then what does that look like after that point? How do you move? You know, and I'm gonna say this, and this is it kind of brings it full circle with what we're talking about, right?
Mhm,
The fear of death, right? When
mhm.
someone is no longer afraid of death, then they
Mhm.
move a certain way because, like, oh, I'm not scared of dying. It's like I don't want to
Right,
die, but I'm not afraid of
right,
that. So
right.
now, what type of person do I want to be in this world? Moving
Mm.
around without that fear. You're like a
Mhm. Mm. Right, right,
superhuman. You know what I mean? It's like, oh shit, I'm
right,
afraid of that.
right.
So, am I gonna be a monster? Am I gonna be a saint? Am I gonna be somewhere in
Mhm,
between? What type of human being, what type of individual do I now get to be?
mhm,
And I
mhm,
think that kind of ties in with this, right?
mhm,
Because
mhm, mhm,
it's you get to confront yourself and see who you really are. Some
mhm.
people choose the other way. I've seen people turn into monsters, and that's
Right,
scary. Like, oh wow, oh, that's who
right,
you are.
right.
Okay,
Watch
no,
out
like, here's
now.
who I am. Like,
Right. Yeah, it's like, yeah, what? Really? Nah, yep, I know. You got to be careful there too. Yeah,
yeah,
it's that old adage that they say, it's better to be a warrior in a garden
yes,
than a gardener in a war.
yes,
You see? So you got your sword, it's sheath, but you know how to use it, but
right,
you're planting flowers. It's okay.
right,
It's okay. It's okay.
right.
So we try our best to move like that. I love this conversation. We've been going on for a while,
Mhm,
man, and
mhm.
we could just keep going.
Yep.
We have other brothers tapping in. I see them, chiming in and
Peace,
they're
peace, man.
listening, and I love all the brothers tapping in. Thank you so much. There's another brother, Denzel Hill. He happens to be an
Right.
architect, and he's going to be at the Purple Sage Festival on June 28th. And he also works with his with the drone, with the sky drone, and
Oh, good.
he captures incredible footage. So this is one of the things that he's going to be providing. I'm going to introduce you to him. He lives in Georgia, so he's flying in for this one, bro.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, people
That's
coming
dope.
in from all
That's
over.
dope.
Yeah, yeah, and we have another great musician that has come in too, Devon. Also, he goes by the name of Spiritual Guitar, underscore. So yeah,
Okay.
he's a powerful brother too, and real humble too. I told him, I never met you. I don't know how good you are, man. You're gonna be in the festival, and he was like, yeah, I think I'm like medium, and and then later on, he sent me some of his YouTube stuff. Yo, when I
Mhm,
opened it, I was like, oh, snap, bro, this guy
mm,
is ooh.
mm.
He plays the guitar. I kid you not. I thought three guys were playing the guitar.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I told him that, and he was like, "Yeah, I hear that often." So another
Wow.
powerful brother that's coming in too. So thank you so much for tuning in, and we do want to help out people with this energetic exchange.
Mhm.
uh, there's going to be an ice plunge offering with some breath work, and there's also a small parking, minimal nominal fee. There's the energetic exchange for attending, to having access to all the live music and all of the vendors. ARMEW is going to be there also with his axle release massage and energy works. Right?
Mhm. Thank you,
And
sir.
there's going to be great food, energetic food, alkaline food. I'm really pushing the wife to get into the kitchen, to provide some arroz con gandule, con pollo al horno,
Mm,
ensalada de papa, and you know what I'm saying? Let's go, let's go.
right. What's the name? What's the handle for the brother? You said spiritual guitar.
Yep. His name, he's chiming in there too. He's a brother that lives right by me too. It's called Spiritual Guitar underscore.
Okay.
Right? There's the line, the underscore,
Yeah.
spiritual guitar. Yeah.
I'm gonna see if I
Great brother. Yeah. I got to turn you on to this guy. Super great, super humble. We had a great, I'm going to have him on the podcast, and I would like to make a suggestion too, right?
can.
So
Mhm.
people who are listening to this here, I would like to say that if you could come up and reply to us somehow, communicate with us, let us know what subject you would like us to address. That way we could do our homework, and then we can get all the questions and comments out there too. And, we'll go through a few and we'll pick one for next month.
Mhm.
And then I'm going to mail you a lovely surprise. It's a swag bag with some really wonderful
Mm.
gifts on the inside. I got you. I'll put it together. You give me your address. I'll go to the post office and I'll ship it to you. Trust. So there it is. I just want to put that out there. But now, getting back to the Purple Sage Festival on June 28th, you can purchase the ticket on the website at omzielhealingsanctuary.com. Right? I'm going to put it up right here, /events. And you'll see in the events, you'll see the Purple Sage. We also have a tab there too that is the Purple Sage Festival. And we have some wonderful buttons that you could click. I'm all in, or you can see who's going to be there, the artist. But once you say you click I'm all in, it brings you to the page where you will have the choices in order to pick, the entrance, the parking. You're going to camp out for the night. You want to rent a tent. You're going to do the ice plunge, So we want to give you 10% off of that ticket. The code word is clarity. That's it. That's all you
Mm.
got to say. That's all you got to put within the code. I haven't set it up on the website, Cam, but trust, in the rising, I'm going to do it. So whenever you're hearing this
Awesome.
broadcast right here on the radio, on the Wake Up Radio, correct?
Wake Up Radio. That's
On
right.
the Wake Up Radio, and right here too, streaming on the YouTube channel, Facebook, and also on the Instagram. You just have to go to the website and use the code CLARITY.
Mm.
That's it. There you go. We'll give you 10% off your ticket.
Beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's it.
All right. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us one more again for another episode of the Clarity Code,
That's right.
the Wake Up Radio.
That's right. That's right.
Omziel and ARMEW.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you, family. Until the next Thursday. We like doing this on the Thursday at 7 p.m., but we will give you the red alert that showtime is coming, and we'll let you know.
Yep. And of course, I want to give a big shout out to super producer Cindy Ack.
Of course. Thank you, Cindy. Peace and love always.
Love.
Peace.